what I promised you, which would be, according to what I have seen, and believe me, I have seen many scenarios out of my personal investigations, out of my personal research, out of the fact that I was there myself, facing 10 opponents, and many other things actually that are not nice, but actually taught me a lot concerning self defense. Now, there are three things that you should keep in mind, and you can ask any master in martial arts, and most probably he would agree with me. And actually, I'm going to tell you which one is the one scenario that agrees with that, what I'm about to tell you. The number one thing that you should have in your mind if you like to defend yourself properly is not assuming the role of a victim. In German would be niemals ein Opfer sein. That would be never to be a victim. So, how is that? When you say that maybe you are vulnerable, maybe you are in a situation that is kind of difficult. I mean, of course, there are many scenarios where it's difficult to do something about it. But when you think about what I'm telling you, not to be a victim, or remember in German, Opfer. In my channel is more about German if you'd like to know. But first of all, that's what I'm telling you. When you assume that what you have seen, most probably you have seen in National Geographic that there is this little animal that is facing, let's say, a lion, a bigger predator, and that little animal is facing that predator and is facing it, is definitely determined to face um, its attacker. So the probabilities or the options or the odds that this little animal survives increase automatically out of the fact that predators don't like to face animals that face them. Imagine this. They don't like this confrontation because they know they can get hurt, they can get, they don't like it. They prefer always the kind of animal that assumes the role of a victim. In this case, it's like the animal that is kind of weak, or that the animal that shows something where it's very evident its vulnerability. For a human being, for the matter, is that no matter what, you are going to face your opponent. No matter what, you're going to fight. No matter what, you're going to tell your brain that you're not a victim. Opfer would be the word in German. I was about to say that. So you're not an Opfer, you're not a victim. Put that German word in there. And you will remind yourself with this word that this is the kind of work your mind needs, because all the time when I have seen, under many possible scenarios, let's say the classical one where a woman has been victimized by its partner or former partner or a group or whatever, and the times that I have seen that that woman survived, or let's say that vulnerable person, was in the case that that person assumed the role not to be a victim. No matter what, that person was determined to react. So, number one is never to be a victim. You're going to fight, you're going to struggle, you're going to do whatever it takes to save your own life in the case that you don't have any other thing. Remember that in the other video I told you to anticipate, but in the case that you are in the middle of something and you have to do something about it. So, you're never a victim. Never. Ever. And it doesn't only apply, it not only applies to the fact about an attack, this and that, the classical self-defense scenario, but actually for many other things, for business issues, for personal issues, professional issues. For many other scenarios you will see that it's always better for your brain when you tell it you're not a victim. Okay, that is the number one thing you should have in your brain. Allow me to tell you the number two thing that you should have in there. Number two, resourcefulness. A resourceful person can see opportunity when others only see obstacles. What do I mean by that? And think about really very much what is the meaning of, having or thinking that you are very resourceful. So having the attitude of resourcefulness. Because when you see the many other resources that you might have there for your own defense under extreme cases scenario, worst case scenario, as you say that in English, so you think about all possible options that you have when you have to do something no matter what. When you see many survivors, either in nature, at war, in the middle of a situation that was kind of critical, always critical, those people survived because they were resourceful. Resourceful is that you see any other object around you and you let your brain take it and use that as a means for you to save your own life, precisely because you are under extreme conditions. Those extreme conditions in self-defense mean that this little thing here is a self-defense mechanism if used properly, because what we're talking about is saving your life. And that is why resourcefulness is very, very useful. In many other cases, when you see all possible elements that you have, for example, your shoe, your heels, a belt, I mean, you name it. Especially because you calculate the question of time and because you have to react right away. But when you have the resourcefulness attitude, your brain, again, like I said, is going to use any element around you, the most immediate thing your brain can see, and make it work in your favor. That is precisely how we human beings turn into human beings. If you see history, that we started using tools more or less 200,000 years ago. Any historian can confirm that. So, and from there, we started to connect all the things we started to see as hunter gatherers or hunter collectors, other possible elements that were very useful along history. And that is how we started to survive and to learn so much more. So think about your resourcefulness. And that is not only concerning your defense about the situations we're talking about, extreme circumstances, fighting for your life, being really resourceful, but also for many other things, for business, for conversations, for having the upper hand in a situation where you know it's convenient for you to have it, either because the conversation or the discussion or, all possible scenarios. Always when you are resourceful, you will see that we human beings always find, solution. Think about 1969. Houston, we got a problem here. And what they did during that time when they had to get that rocket into the moon. And many other situations from that time on, think about all possible people that were very resourceful. And actually, we have this capacity. Our brain, our algorithm has this capacity. So that is number two. And let me tell you about number three. The number three word is the word that you see there in German and in English again. As you can imagine, I teach German, so I know about German culture. I teach other languages as well. As you can see in my channel, I will give you there plenty of resources. So subscribe, see the links that I have there for you. See the things that I have specialized in, for example, German for doctors. Now, having said that, is number three would be determination. In German, it's die Entschlossenheit. And why do I say is that very important in martial arts and your self-defense mechanism? And that what you should have here in your database, in your hard disk, so to speak, in your brain? Because when you have the determination to survive any situation under all possible circumstances, your brain is going to work so much more for you. What I'm talking about is to put all possibilities and odds on your side. Like I said before, don't assume the role of a victim, no matter what. Be very resourceful. And number three, have the determination to succeed, to survive and succeed. When you tell that to your brain and you prepare yourself for that, in my channel, I'm going to give you more, how to prepare yourself so much more for this. But let me, in that definition in here, why determination is so important. Because as you have seen, many survivors of really extreme circumstances and situations is because they were determined to survive. There was this man described in the magazine, maybe you know this magazine, Reader's Digest, and he was surviving the fight against 3 or 4 Rottweilers. As you can imagine, Rottweilers are really big dogs, and if you have to face only one of them, it's already very dangerous. Imagine facing 4. And there was this man facing 4, and he survived. He was determined to survive. There is the other movie, if you like to be inspired by a movie. Angelina Jolie directed that movie about a former veteran warrior, so to speak, where he was confronting all possible situations and the odds were against him. Still, when he got as a prisoner by the Japanese army, he still continued fighting. And until recently, he was alive. I think he made it to 96. You can see in Wikipedia, you can see Angelina Jolie's directed movie, where this man survived all possible scenarios because he was determined to live, to survive. When you put that determination in your mind, your brain is going to do that what is most convenient for you under all possible scenarios, like I said, because, as I once heard from a woman, we go for the yes because the no is already a guarantee. She meant that always if you don't do anything, okay, done. Whatever happens, right? But when you go for the yes, when you go for the survival, when you go for your own life, when you're determined to make the best out of anything, your brain again is helping you. And of course, very difficult. Of course, not easy. But, once in a while, you can train yourself for this. Every time, always, all Fridays, I'm going to give you some top tips about this issue. If you like to know how to start your defense in your mind, because all defenses in the planet, they start here first. Remember, the most dangerous species on this planet is the human being. Why? Because we are the Homo sapiens, because we think. And that is what makes us strong. Other situations, other things, other dramas, other things that are exaggerated are, things that we created ourselves. That is why in the future, if you tell me, next video, I'm going to tell you something what I think about artificial intelligence and why is that the kind of danger Elon Musk is talking about, precisely because of something in particular. I'm going to tell you about this in the next video, but now remember the three things that I told you about. So never consider yourself a victim ever. You're not a victim, not at all. You have a brain, remember, mine. Number two, resourceful. Think about all possible things and people that you can use. I mean, in the good sense, of course, to defend yourself, or the elements that surround you to defend yourself, to survive. And number three, determination. In German, Entschlossenheit. So keep that in mind and believe me, according to what I have seen, and I have seen a lot and research a lot, the odds, I think, are on your side to survive. Thank you. And remember to register, subscribe, and send that video to anybody that needs to listen to this specifically.